Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Surfing the Tide. Welcome back to it. It's episode 2 of season 2, the new or season 1, of the new partnership. And so, happy National Mark Sears Day to all who celebrate Mark Sears Decision Day. And in this episode, I'm going to catch you all up on pretty much everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. And we've been doing basically nothing but winning, except in baseball. But we'll see. And but Noah is unable to join us tonight. I'll actually be going solo for the next few episodes. He's out of commission doing stuff, and but we're gonna have 2 interviews tonight. So we'll have Tuscaloosa News sportswriter Cade Hampton and Crimson White writer Graham Baakko talking with us today. Cade will talk to us about baseball, and Graham is going to talk to us about some men's tennis singles national championship stuff that just happened. And Philip Planensek, I really hope I didn't mispronounce that. He just won the national championship for that. So congratulations to him. And but there's a truckload of stuff to talk about tonight, and we're going to get through all of it. So first off, to just start us off in football, we're going to talk about football, baseball, softball, men's and women's basketball. There's been some cool stuff happening in both. Obviously, Mark Sears just announced that he's coming back. And but we've got track and field stuff that just happened. I mean, massive stuff that just happened in there. We have a swimmer who just qualified for the Olympic trials. All sorts of stuff has happened. So I'm going to take you all through all of it. So first off with football, just to update y'all on something that I said in the last episode, Khalil Jacobs, as y'all all probably know already, ended up committing to Missouri. So I was kind of disappointed about that, but I mean, I've got to be honest, we'll be fine. I'm not totally sure the reason for why he did, because I've seen a couple of different things about it, but I think we'll be fine. But in random news, Jalen Milroe is an instructor at the Manning Passing Academy, and so that's pretty cool. He's actually featured on the deluxe edition of the new NCAA 25 game that comes out in July. And in our first look at Alabama in that trailer, we actually see some Bama players holding the turnover belt in Bryant-Denny, so that's pretty awesome. And so the House versus NCAA lawsuit is taking place. I'll talk about that in the next episode. I got to be honest, I need to do some research of my own into that before I talk about it at all. But something called True NIL is something to mention from it that I saw. It looked kind of interesting. And again, I'll talk about all that in the next episode, though. But the football oversight committees recently approved the proposal to allow unlimited coaches. So this would allow analysts and QCs to coach in practices and games and stuff. And but each program is still only allowed 11 recruiters. And but the D1 Council has to approve that, and it was actually denied last year. So we'll see what happens. But many of y'all might remember linebacker Kendrick Blackshear. He transferred from Alabama to Texas in December in the transfer portal, and now he's on the way to UTSA after transferring in the post-spring portal. So the grass is not always greener, as we like to say. But that's about all the random news for football that I've got. As far as official visits, coaching visits, and final team announcements, we've got some of those. 5-star cornerback Dejon Lee, he's a major prospect for us right now. His last official visit is to Alabama on June 21st. He's announcing that decision on June 28th. So that last visit being us is massive. We already have a slight edge on Georgia, by the way, for him, but he's visiting Washington, Georgia, Texas, A&M, and us. And multiple expert predictions have been logged for him to come to Bama, so that's really good. And then 2025 4-star safety CJ Jim Coyley put us in his top 4 schools, and he's taking an official visit to Tuscaloosa on June 21st. As his last official visit, actually. That's also huge. Combining him with Dejon would be awesome. That'd be massive. But he'll be visiting Stanford, Tennessee, and LSU before us. So again, us being his last one, that's huge. And we will be the 5th and final official visit for 2025 5-star wide receiver Derek Meadows on June 21st. Alabama and Notre Dame are in the lead for him. He's also visiting Georgia, Michigan, Notre Dame, and LSU. He's a huge prospect for us. And then 5-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham. As some of y'all know, he's one of my favorite prospects in the 2025 class. He met with Jamarcus Shepard, our receivers coach, and he feels like the staff is making him a big priority, which I'm a very big fan of, naturally. I very much want him on our roster. He's incredible. Y'all should go watch some of his highlight tape. He's great. I'll actually probably include some of that in a future episode this summer. We'll be getting into some different stuff this summer. I'll be taking a deep dive into some prospects and showing y'all some different stuff, so it'll be cool. Next up, 2026 five-star edge Anthony Jones will be at camp tomorrow. He's been to Alabama about 10 times, according to what I've read, but this will be his first time that he's been on campus since DeBoer took over. 2025 four-star edge Javion Hilson posted on his Twitter on the 14th that Kane Womack and Freddie Roach paid him a visit. He was committed to us before Coach Saban retired, and then he decommitted. And now he's committed to FSU, but there are a few teams with a really solid chance to flip him from the Seminoles, and Bama is one of the headliners of that group, so really good stuff. 2025 four-star linebacker Dawson Merritt got a visit from Kane Womack and Christian Robinson on the 16th. He's one of our top Wolf targets in the 2025 class, and he is very, very high on us too. He's down to Bama and Nebraska in his recruiting, so that is really, really exciting stuff. And a few of our coaches went to visit another four-star Wolf prospect, Justin Hill. OSU leads his recruitment right now, but we're in his Final Four. And then let's see here. 2025 five-star offensive tackle Ty Haywood has a battle going on between Oklahoma and Alabama right now in his recruitment. That's huge. And then two more to go. 2025 four-star inside offensive lineman Michael Carroll, who is actually the number 2 inside offensive lineman in this class, is down to 4 schools, including Alabama. He has an official visit to Bama on June 7th to 9th. And then finally, SMU quarterback commit Keelan Russell. This is a huge story, by the way, and I'll go into it later probably. But he's taking an official visit to Alabama this weekend. He's the number 1 quarterback in the country, according to ESPN, and we are the biggest threat to flip him, according to what he's said publicly. But he actually saw a quote from him on Twitter today, and he was saying, "Look, I'm just waiting to see if a school can actually flip me, if there are any schools that can do it. But if not, then SMU is home." Well, that tells me, and I've done absolutely zero research into this, so take this with a grain of salt, but he is what that tells me is that he's either looking for NIL or he's looking for more playing time or something like that. I mean, those are the two obvious things, of course, but that's just what that screams at me. So for men's basketball, for the NBA draft, Sears is returning. So roll Tide. We're getting him back. That's awesome. And we will be getting a decision from Stevenson by tonight at 10:59 p.m. Central Time. I don't have Twitter on my phone at the moment, currently updating. So once I bring Graham and Cade on here later on, they might have some news for me. Who knows? But that is the deadline. And Mark Sears measured in as the shortest player who participated in the NBA Combine testing, and he measured in at 5'10" and a quarter inches. On the other hand, he tested as the most athletic point guard in the class and ranked in the 86th percentile for that. But he was the smallest point guard. And but he did miss a scrimmage with an injury, and Jaron Stevenson, just a little fun fact for you, is actually more of a 50-50 case to return or commit to the draft than Sears is. So we'll see what happens. But Coach Nate Oates said that the thought process was pretty much if Sears isn't getting a guaranteed contract, then he's returning to college to help us try to win a national title next year. So roll Tide again. And in the post-NBA Combine mock draft, just so y'all know this, Sears actually was not in any of the mock drafts to my knowledge. I read a few of them and didn't see him. But as far as prospect news goes, some of our prospects that we've offered and we're included in their top 5 or top whatever. 2025 4-star power forward Nicola Bundalo. Really hope I pronounced that right. He was the number 23 overall in the class right now. He was offered by Alabama 2 weeks ago. 4-star 2025 shooting guard Davion Hanna was offered by Bama. Top 10 shooting guard in the class, by the way. 2025 5-star small forward Will Riley. He's a big prospect. He's planning to visit Alabama in June, and we're included in his top 5. And finally, Alabama extended an offer to 2025 4-star center Chris Sinak Jr. and 2025 top 100 shooting guard Braylon Mullins. Both of them are game wreckers. And so in case you missed it, or I'm sorry, Braylon Mullins is a game wrecker. I have not seen any film on Chris Sinak, my bad. But in case you missed it, Wagi transferred to Oklahoma after Pringle went to South Carolina. Griffin went to Kansas, and a few others left too. Kent State has been scheduled to be part of our non-conference schedule next season, and there's a chance it comes right after a college football playoff game in Tuscaloosa, since it'll be on a Sunday. So that's pretty cool. And we made a Purdue home and home series starting this coming season, starting at Purdue on November 15th. Women's basketball. I don't really have as much news here, unfortunately. Kind of wish I did, but I've got a couple things to share with y'all. They'll compete in the Emerald Coast Classic this coming season. And on top of that, all the girls we signed have graduated and arrived on campus. And all the girls we got out of the portal have arrived on campus too, to my knowledge. And one of our star players, Aliyah Nye, she entered the portal like a month or two ago, but she is returning to Bama after entering the portal. And technically that's old news, but I figured I'd tell you all anyway. But we signed 4-star guard and number 41 in the class, Eris Lester, 4-star guard and number 46 in the class, Chloe Spreen, and 6A state champion forward, Leah Brooks. And from the portal, we got 2018 McDonald's All-American guard Zay Green from the Arkansas Pine Bluff, Campbell forward center Cristobal Izuma, and Ohio State point guard Diana Collins. And that is all the women's basketball news that I have for y'all. So let me go ahead and fish Cade out of the waiting room really quick. So, Cade, I am ready for you now. So, guys, let me introduce you to Cade Hampton to the episode. He's a longtime friend of mine and a sports writer for the Tuscaloosa News, primarily covering gymnastics and baseball. So, as far as baseball news goes, I saw that TJ McCants and Gage Miller are Dick Hauser Trophy semifinalists, Cade.
Yeah, they both were. Yeah, that's a pretty big semifinalist award list. It's I think like 75 guys get put on that or on that semifinalist list. So still a big honor for those two guys. I don't think either of them will wind up being finalists. I'm sure Georgia's Charlie Condon is going to wind up the winner of that. He hit 34. Sorry,
Yes.
He hit 34 home runs this year, and so. So yeah, but yeah, big honors for those two guys, and then we also had Justin LeBron was named All SEC. He was All SEC first team All SEC shortstop, All SEC freshman, and All SEC defensive. So he hit, kind of hit a hat trick right there with the first year player. Big honors for him, and he's very deserving of it. The kid's a pro.
Oh, for sure.
And then also Zane Adams was on the All SEC freshman team as a starting pitcher. He kind of had a breakout season this year. That's a good guy to talk about in the pitching rotation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw that the batting average leaders last time I checked 8 days ago. Gage Miller leads with .383. My gosh.
Yeah, no, Gage has been hitting. He's been hitting really well this year, especially in SEC play. When SEC play came around, he still maintained his spot up at the top of the rotation. He was been hitting leadoff spot all year, and he gets on base, gets the hits. He's exactly what you want hitting right there at the top. But he actually he didn't make any All SEC first team or second team. I feel like he got snubbed at least from the designated hitter spot, because, Charlie Condon, who I mentioned earlier, he was the obvious, first team All SEC third baseman. And then LSU's Tommy White was a pretty, you could probably make an argument for Miller as the second team third baseman over White, but, White has a pretty good pedigree and pretty good argument there. But I feel like as a designated hitter, because they had two guys tie for the first team designated hitter and then another guy on the, from Ole Miss on the second team. I can't remember the guys from the first team off the top of my head now, but I really was surprised to see that Miller didn't make one of those two spots. But
I saw your tweets about that. Yeah, I saw what you posted on Twitter about that, how he got snubbed.
Yeah. I mean, just the numbers. If you look at him, higher batting average, higher OPS, higher on base percentage, but the one thing he was kind of lacking in a little bit was the home runs and RBIs was where he was just kind of trailing those guys a little bit. And when those two are the numbers those guys are going to look at the most, that the voters are, because it's the coaches that vote on that. And, those two numbers are obviously those raw numbers are the most valuable when you're voting on stuff like that. So, I could see why the other guys ended up getting the vote over him, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if it's the Alabama hate though, like they have for us in football and basketball.
No comment.
You technically can't. But yeah, something really cool that I saw was that all of our batting average leaders, all of our top 5 were over 300, which was just insane to me. That is wild. But another cool little fun fact that I saw on Twitter. Excuse me. In our loss to Auburn on the 16th, Ben Hess had 6 outs. Do you have anything you can talk about for that? Figured that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, Hess is he kind of has not had the season that everyone really expected out of him. He entered the season kind of at the top of the weekend rotation, and then he was the Friday night starter, and then Riley Quick was originally the Saturday night starter. Well, Quick, after like one series, he pitched 3 innings in the first series against Manhattan, and then was out for the season with Tommy John surgery. So that was just kind of a brutal blow to the pitching rotation right out of the gate. And then they ended up, they had to work out some other. Aiden Moza was initially in the starting rotation, but that didn't last very long. They brought Ferrone up. Greg Ferrone was a transfer in from Louisville, and he really has proved himself this year. Coach Vaughn really likes him. And so he kind of worked his way up over Hess. Hess kind of really struggled, especially once SEC play started. Hess entered SEC ball at the top of the rotation. And then when the Arkansas series came around, Ferrone took over at the top of the rotation. Or maybe it might have been the A&M series the next week was when Ferrone took over. But
yeah,
it was somewhere around there when they went like back-to-back against the number 1 teams. And then Hess eventually, Adams really broke out in the Arkansas. Zane Adams, the freshman, he really broke out in the Arkansas series and eventually kind of worked his way up over Hess. So
yeah,
Hess, for the last 2 series, I think LSU and Auburn, he was the Sunday starter. And I think Mississippi State as well, he was the Sunday starter. So he's kind of worked his way down from Friday to Saturday to Sunday, but ever since he's been the Sunday starter, he's put together his like 3 best performances. His like he put the Frisco Classic, he put together a really great performance against Indiana in that game. And then when SEC play started, he just kind of started to fall off a little bit. Didn't really put up the numbers everyone expected.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, which, I mean, he was coming off an injury. He was hurt all last year and getting back into the flow of things. It kind of happens. It's really hard to come back from an injury like that. But by the time he worked his way down in the rotation and was the Sunday starter, he's really put together just 3 really solid, efficient, high strikeout performances, and really good game against Auburn. He had a really good game against LSU, and he started to pick up some wins too. He had a really bad record in SEC play up until those last couple of series when he was able to pick up some wins. So I think they've still got a lot of confidence in him, and his confidence should be pretty high going into this regional. He didn't pitch in the SEC tournament at all. They only lasted 1 game, so his arm should be fresh. He should put together. I would expect him to go a pretty long outing, unless I'm not sure when they're going to start him. We still don't know who's going to start the first game of the regional. But if I had to guess, Hess would probably, if they end up going into like an elimination game, if they lose the first game, I would probably guess Hess maybe would start that elimination game if they lose that.
He's got a heater. I mean, that dude is a dog.
Yeah, no, his fastball is just it's his game, but his breaking ball has also really kind of come a long way this year. That was really what was shot, especially that Mississippi State game that he started. He was striking them out hard with, they couldn't touch him on the breaking balls. It was really, just has looked really good lately. He's really come along at the end of the year. It just took him a while to kind of get in the groove, but he's really come along.
Dude, he dominated. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I did read that a double first base is being used for the SEC tournament. Do you have anything to say about that? Because honestly, I didn't even know what I was reading about that.
Yeah, I honestly had not heard much about the double first base at all. Apparently, they used it in like select non-conference games this season throughout the SEC. I hadn't really heard much about it. I don't think Alabama used it in any games, as far as I know. I didn't hear anything about them using it in any of their non-conference games. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they did, and I just didn't notice it. But yeah, either way, honestly, I had never really heard much about it. Apparently, it was just kind of an experimental thing they were doing. But in practice, it makes sense. It does what it's supposed to do. The main purpose of it is to prevent those collisions between runners and the first baseman. And when you watch it and see it in practice, that's effectively what it does. When they use it correctly, it works. I mean, it does it. People complained about it, but people complain about any new rule in sports.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean,
I
It
have been
does what
known
it's supposed to. It
to be one of
doesn't
those
really
people.
affect it
Sure.
too much in my eyes.
Yeah. I have been known to be a complainer for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were talking about Greg Ferrone. Yeah, I jotted down that he might be starting in the SEC, or I'm sorry, he did start in the SEC tournament opener. Yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, so they kind of were put the SEC tournament, that especially having to play on Tuesday kind of puts you in a weird spot because they just had the Iron Bowl series the Thursday through Saturday right before, and then so that gave them Sunday and Monday off, and then they have to throw a guy on the mound in a do or die game on Tuesday, which is the first round of the SEC tournament, single elimination. So every team was just kind of in a weird spot with who they wanted to put out there, and Ferrone only went 50 pitches against South Carolina before they, I think it was Aiden Mosa that they put in, but Mosa has really just struggled this season. Every time they've put him on the mound, it's been just kind of a brutal showing. I'm pretty sure he picked up the loss in that game. He picked up a really brutal loss against South Alabama at home. That was a midweek game right before the Arkansas series that they ended up winning. But yeah, it's been a really tough season for Mosa out there. But yeah, so Ferrone went about 50 pitches until they switched to Mosa for a handful, and then Alton Davis actually came in and pitched a pretty long relief outing, which is interesting for him because he's usually a late game closer. But he did against Texas A&M also put together 76 pitch outing. So he's got those long relief outings in him, and he's probably one of the more talented arms in that bullpen. But they really like to save him for those late game situations and get him saves and whatnot.
For sure. Well, I did want to ask you because I know that we lost to South Carolina 5-10 in that opener, but I didn't get to watch much of it at all. What do you think went wrong that we could capitalize on by fixing in the regional opener? Do you think?
Honestly, South Carolina put when they put Chris Veach on the mound, it was over for the Alabama offense. They picked up the first hit in the fifth inning. Their first at bat, Mac Gussetti hit a single, got on base, and then their next three batters grounded out, or it was like a fly out, ground out, just three quick outs. And then the sixth through eighth innings, they did not get anybody on base. They went 3 up, 3 down through the lineup, like 3 innings in a row. It was just absolutely brutal. They couldn't get a hit off this guy to save their lives. It was just so, I mean, you're probably not going to see a drought like that offensively. I mean, because that was just, statistically the worst possible offensive outing you could put up is 9 batters through 3 innings and none of them get on base. That's what happened to them in Hoover. So that just
it's tough
for it to get that bad. If it gets that bad against UCF, they're going to lose it because the pitching, whoever's on the mound, Ferrone is solid, Adams is solid, Hess has been better, but the pitching has been the weak spot for this Alabama baseball team. It's been the clear, especially once you take the starters off the mound, the relievers have just been kind of up and down. You kind of never know what you're going to get with some of these guys. And they're either going to put together a really good performance or, give up just a lot of walks, give a lot of guys on base, or just serve up some meatballs and give up some homers. It just, so, the pitching has been kind of the clear weak spot to me for this team. But when the hitting goes, the offense is able to kind of keep up with it a lot of the time, keep up with a lot of the good offenses that they'll see.
Sure.
And when the offense goes that dry, there's just no chance of them keeping up. Because against South Carolina, they scored those 5 runs pretty quickly. They were up, went up 3-0 quick, and then it was 3-2, but then they got it up to 5-2. And then once South Carolina got it up to 10, it was, or got the lead, they got it up to, I think, 7-5, and then Alabama just went silent, and then South Carolina just kept pushing. So, it would just, as long as the offense can, keep some sense of life to them and not just completely fall flat like that, and support the pitching, because the pitching, they're eventually going to give up runs. They don't have a guy that's going to go a long, efficient, like full complete game unless he's just completely in his zone. They've only had, Adams got close to that one time this year, but that's just not really going to happen.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, yeah, I hope they do well in the regionals. But speaking of which, so we are now in the Tallahassee regionals. After being projected number 3 seed, we are in the number 2 seed. Finished 6th in strength of schedule, 5th most quadrant ones win in the country, and this is the 2nd straight season that we're in the NCAA tournament. So roll tide. Florida State received the final top 8 spot. And a little fun fact for you: the SEC is actually sending the most schools in the tournament in history with 11 teams. And so we play 3 seed UCF on Friday at 5 p.m. Central. We're a 2 seed, like I was saying. So we're playing UCF, and then FSU is playing Stetson. So tell me your thoughts on this. How do you think this goes? Who do you think goes to Supers? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, honestly, looking at the bracket, this is definitely one of the more tougher regionals on the host team. And especially, when you look at it, Florida State is, obviously the host. It's in Tallahassee, and then UCF, being in the state is not far, and Stetson also is in the state of Florida. It's in DeLand, Florida, and so, So I mean, all these teams are gonna, they do not have. They're all in state, and Alabama obviously is not. So, there's definitely a bit of, the home field disadvantage that Alabama has struggled with. They're, their road record, I don't remember what it exactly is off the top of my head, but it's
not great.
it's not great. Their weakness has been on the road this year, especially against those, top level teams like
exactly, especially in the SEC.
Yeah, Georgia, Kentucky, both of those teams on the road gave them some serious trouble, and then Mississippi State as well, although the team was really sick in that series. They had food poisoning going on in there, so that was something. But
yeah, I remember talking about that. I think it was last episode.
Yeah, no, but I think UCF, as far as that first game goes, UCF is a pretty balanced matchup. Oh, I just got a notification on my phone. Sorry to interrupt, but it looks like Jaron Stevenson is also returning too.
Let's go, baby! Roll Tide.
Yeah, as we expected.
Roll Tide. What I tell y'all, Cade or Graham might get a notification on their phone when I have
I just saw it pop up. So I think that's
Roll Tide.
Big news, big news for basketball. But no. Anyways, as far as that first game goes, I think UCF is a pretty balanced team. They've got they were kind of middle of the pack in a really solid Big 12 that put some really good teams out there this season, and they won about 14-15 I think was their conference record in the Big 12. So solid season for them, and they don't really have any super elite standout kind of guys, but they've got solid pitching, really a lot of depth in the bullpen. They have a solid squad of relievers that can get the job done, and D1 baseball says that they've got the best starting rotation and the best bullpen in this regional. So, and that's including Florida State. So that's pretty big ups to them. And so it should be interesting to see how the Alabama offense handles those guys. Because the offense has been the strong point this year, and but I think it's going to come down to whether or not the pitching can keep them off the scoreboard or in that game. And then, but if you ask me, Florida State this year, that offense, their offense is just elite. They've got two of the best hitters in the country, and Cam Smith, their third baseman, and James Tibbs, their right fielder. He was the ACC Player of the Year. He hit 25 home runs this year. He's first round bat for sure. So just two absolute studs that will hit it a lot and hit it far. And so I think Florida State, it's not going to be an easy one for them. I could definitely see this go into like a 7th game. Whether it be Alabama or UCF or even Stetson. Stetson is a sleeper, feisty 4 seed out of the ASUN conference. which is a pretty solid baseball conference. Austin P had a really solid team. Lipscomb, who Alabama played this year, had a solid, veteran roster. So, it's not the easiest conference to, Kennesaw State as well, also who they beat in the conference championship. So, yeah, and Stetson, they played Florida State and UCF both this year, and they beat both of them. And they split to 1-1 in a home and home series. They beat Florida State and UCF at their home stadium, but playing in Florida State's obviously a different story. So I think with the home field advantage and just their offense being as hot as it is, I think Florida State is gonna wind up winning this regional. But I think what really does favor Alabama here is just that they're well rested. They haven't played since last Tuesday, so they're gonna have over pretty much a week and a half of rest in between their last game, which was the South Carolina loss, and their first regional game. So they're gonna be ready to go. Hopefully, rest does not equal rust, and they're able to get out and just, get on base, get some runs scored early, and the arms are just ready to go, put up some long, efficient outings. That's what it's going to come down to, is just the length and efficiency that these pitchers are able to put up.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I saw a bunch of people who also definitely knew what they were talking about with baseball for sure. But they were all like, "Yeah, Alabama's going all the way, man." I was like, no, I hope so. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a handful of regionals where you could definitely see the 2 or the 3 coming out, and this I definitely think is one of them. I mean, this is one of the ones where it's like it's more up in the air who's gonna come out of it. I do think at the end of the day it will be the host, Florida State, that makes it out, but Alabama's a strong team. They're coming out of a strong conference, and obviously they're well rested. UCF as well is also, they're no slouches. So it'll be fun to watch. I'm really excited for this this group. So
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was seeing that by average power rating of non-hosts, the toughest regionals, 1 was Tucson and 2 was Tallahassee. So that was pretty interesting. But
yeah, that Tucson regional is crazy with Arizona, who Arizona won that Pac-12 championship crazy game, and then
that's right.
But DBU, who Alabama played earlier, this Dallas Baptist, is really, really good.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
They gave Alabama their first loss this season, and then that West Virginia team also was really good in that regional. So
Arizona, they because they won the Pac-12, I'm pretty sure that's what actually propelled them into the regional hosting.
Yep, it did.
Interesting stuff. Well, let's see here. I did have just like one more question for you. So as for the key players for us to watch, what do you want to tell everybody?
For Alabama, well, I would definitely say, like we talked about earlier, Gage Miller and Justin LeBron, the first team All-SEC freshman kid. He's just an absolute stud, freshman phenom, and he's gonna, Coach Vaughn has called him the future of Alabama baseball, and that kid's gonna be, a mainstay in the starting lineup. He started every game and played well every game. He's, just absolutely very elite young kid.
Yeah.
But TJ McCants has kind of slid up and down in the lineup a little bit this year.
He was, yeah.
And but he also is always a threat to, send one to the yard, and he can put some clutch ones up.
Dingers,
and then
love to see
but another guy who also has been really hot lately is William Hamiter. So against Mississippi State, I mentioned earlier, there was the food poisoning that went around, and Evan Slight, who was the starting right fielder for most of the season, he was among those afflicted by the food poisoning. Well, they put Hamiter in, and Hamiter ends up, putting some really strong at-bats together against Mississippi State. And against LSU, Coach Vaughn comes to Evan Slight, who's like the team captain, starting right fielder all season, and he's a senior. This is his last year. He's like, "Hey, look, we're going to start Hamiter, we're going to start Hamiter this week." And Slight tells him, he's like, "Yeah, that's what you should do. I was going to come tell you should start Hamiter if you weren't going to." So, that just, Vaughn really praised Slight for his leadership in that situation. But ever since then, Hamiter has just been like absolutely just lights out. He's he was hitting, I think, in the 7 spot initially, but he's worked his way up to like the cleanup number 4 spot. He's he's on like a 10 or 11 game hitting streak, and he has put together, I think he had like 8 or something RBIs in the Auburn series alone, and he had like 2 more against South Carolina in the SEC tournament. So he's just on an absolute tear ever since they put him in there, and I would expect him to stay hot too this week. So that the top of the lineup with it's Gage Miller, Ian Patrutz, and then LeBron, and then Hamiter. That top of the lineup is they can hang with pretty much anybody in the SEC. Sweet. And anybody in college baseball is going to struggle throwing against those 4. And then there's some guys deeper into the lineup. Matt Gassetti, the catcher, has been hitting really well lately. And then Bryce Eblin. Eblin, the second baseman at the last the 9 spot. It's they've got a lot of guys who can hit the ball well. It's just a matter of all of them clicking and taking walks and everything, getting on base, doing what they're supposed to do. It's they cannot afford to fall completely flat like they did against South Carolina, because when you do that and leave your pitcher out there for so long and just consecutive innings to just not put up anything and not get on base at all, you can't have that. So I would feel good about it for Alabama. I think UCF is a pretty evenly matched first round team. They're pretty similar in a lot of ways. What concerns me is kind of the depth of their bullpen compared to Alabama's. That would be my primary concern, because once those teams turn away to their starting pitchers is when it's going to get interesting, especially for Alabama, because the relief pitching has been pretty inconsistent.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that pretty much wraps up baseball. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you coming on and telling us about it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. You're welcome back on anytime. I'm going to go ahead and bring Graham up, and we're going to talk about some softball, y'all. And what's up, Graham? How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. Cannot complain. So let me introduce y'all to Graham Baakko, writer for the Crimson and White, and he covers men's tennis and softball. So just to tell y'all a little tidbit about the transfers that we've gotten in recently. So Northern Iowa catcher and utility player, Alexis Papillo, I believe is how you pronounce it, is transferring to Alabama. And two-time All-Region honoree, and 382 batting average, 35 home runs, 19 this season alone, and 98 RBIs. And to top it all off, she has 2 years of eligibility left. Roll Tide. We got a dog. And next up, I wanted to mention Victoria Moten. So she's a Daphne High School pitcher down here in the Mobile area where I'm from, and she's an absolute monster on the mound. She's showed out all season, and she recently did some pretty incredible stuff in the 7A playoffs. She actually pitched 43 innings and only gave up 8 runs in the span of 2 days, and she pitched a no-hitter against Thompson where they beat them 1-0. And she made it onto the Alabama Softball South All-Star team. So they'll play the North at some point this summer. I didn't see a date yet, but in other news, and I'm sure that you've seen about this, Graham, Caleb Beaver was named NFCA second team All-American. I saw that today and a couple days ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty awesome stuff. And then we got the Tuscaloosa Regional and Knoxville Super Regional. We got that. I'm sorry, we just completed that. Jeez. And but yeah, head coach Patrick Murphy earned his 1,300th career win in the 1-0 shutout against USC Upstate in the Tuscaloosa Regional opener, and we got our 20th double play of the season to end that game, and we swept the Tuscaloosa Regional, beating USC Upstate, Southeastern, and then Southeastern once again in that 12-2 win that we were talking about in the last episode. And I said that might be the sign of things to come, and I was incorrect as far as scoring goes. But yeah, we beat Tennessee in a come-from-behind fashion to move on to the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City for the 4th time in the last 5 years. We were really, really close to making this series a sweep, too. We came, I think it was like an error or something like that from doing it. Did you get to see that game?
Yeah, I did, yeah. So it was really the error that really gave Tennessee the game one. I mean, it was just a routine ground ball, just happened to fumble it, and it just led to Tennessee taking the lead that inning, and they just couldn't they couldn't come back. So yeah, that's really what happened game one.
Yeah, I figured. And we lost that first game in Knoxville, 2-3, and then we had the 3-2 win over Tennessee, and that went to 14 innings and was won by a walk-off RBI single from Kristen White to force game 3. Well, let me show you all this video because it's pretty awesome. So let me see if I can't do this really quick. Share screen, and there we go. Check this out.
See just how close the corners are.
White chops it. Mueller's got to come home. It's not in time, and Alabama loves to play another day.
Roll Tide. That's awesome.
Dude, that was great. Well, so a couple fun facts about that. Number one, that was the longest super regional game in history.
It was.
And then also I saw another statistic. I think that game it was a little over one. It was almost like 1.1 million viewers.
All that, yeah.
Which I think that might have been the most viewed super regional game in history too.
Yeah.
I mean, making history right there, right there on Saturday.
That's crazy, man. Oh my gosh. Like you said, longest softball game in super regional's history. Caleb Beaver actually came in as a relief pitcher and pitched over 160 pitches en route to the 10 shutout innings. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. 10 shutout innings in a row. My bad. To win the game. There we go. And pretty mind blowing stuff right there. Jeez, man. That's crazy. I mean, that just blows my mind every time I read that, no matter how many times I do it. But we won game 3 on a grand slam from Riley Valentine in the top of the first inning, and we held them to 1 run for the game. And I've got that video for y'all too in 1 second, as soon as I can pull it up. Share screen. Still getting used to this, This is a new platform that we're doing. So, yeah. And there we go. All right.
The 8th spot in the lineup, Pickens. Valentine lifts one deep to left. West is going back at the track, at the wall, and it is gone! Grand slam, Riley Valentine.
My gosh, that's electric.
What's crazy is right after that, like Alabama got their 3rd out, and then right after that, they went to the long rain delay. So
yeah, they did. I forgot about that.
They scored right at the perfect time.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Oh my gosh, we held them to 1 run for the game, and that was actually the only scoring that we had the entire game. But hey, bases loaded, get a grand slam, that'll do it,
Yeah.
And apparently Patrick Murphy said on his way out of town that the pressure was on Tennessee. I cannot remember where I read that, but I read it somewhere, and that it was not on us, and he held true to his words. So congrats, Coach.
Exactly right. All the pressure was, and they're the number 3 overall team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they had to defend. All the pressure was on them. They had to defend home field, and they didn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Roll Tide. And what's the most fun part about this? It was a down year for us.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like they had all these expectations coming into the year. Yeah. And then, SEC conference play came, finished below 500, and people started to kind of give up on this team. But here we are now. They're right in the final 8 teams going to Oklahoma City now.
Talk about a Cinderella story. My gosh.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
We got that dog in us.
I know.
Oh, my Lord. So 14 seed Alabama will face 6 seed UCLA tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central. I don't know if you've really gone in depth into this yet in your writing, but or you're watching. But, do you have any projections for that, anything at all?
Honestly, here's the thing is, like, Alabama is truly a team where it's really easy to trust and have a lot of faith in their pitching. It's really just about the offense, and the offense has really picked it up in the NCAA tournament here. So I have a lot of faith that they can really keep winning. Now, the problem is that Oklahoma is on their side of the bracket, and Oklahoma's on a generational run right now. They're looking for a 4-peat. So I mean, it's good, and this first part of the World Series is a double elimination, so someone's going to have to beat Oklahoma twice to knock them out. I don't know who that could be. Alabama, look, if they maybe there's a game or two where Alabama's offense is really on fire and their pitching, just kind of stays put to where it's been, and that maybe they could do it. Maybe Alabama could do it. I think Oklahoma is probably really the only team that I don't have a ton of confidence in Alabama beating, but I think Alabama certainly has a chance to beat UCLA tomorrow. I mean, think about it. I mean, they just beat the number 3 overall team 2 out of 3 times.
Yeah,
so
Patrick Murphy was talking about how. I'm sorry, my bad.
I was gonna say, yeah, they certainly have a great chance here to continue this run. Maybe have a Cinderella championship.
Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, I saw Patrick Murphy. He was talking. I think it was Patrick. It was either him or Rob Vaughn. But I think it was Murphy, and he was talking about how that game. I think it was him saying Bama versus Tennessee should have been the national championship, and I fully agree with that. That would have been cool. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only team that could really beat Oklahoma might be LSU, because that was our last loss before Tennessee. But we'll see.
Oklahoma's just on fire. They've only lost 2 games since April 12th, I think it was. They've only lost 2 games since then.
So they have lost a game. Okay, I actually didn't even know that.
They lost. Yeah, Oklahoma State beat them.
Just to show you how much I pay attention to ball games.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be difficult to knock them out, but someone's got to do it. So eventually, I mean, you can't win them all. I mean, this Oklahoma softball team kind of reminds me of like the 2010s UConn's women's basketball team.
Yes,
they would win almost every single game, like for like 5 years straight or whatever it was. It's basically the equivalent of that. Basically, is what people are trying to deal with.
Who is it? Brianna Stewart.
Yeah,
she was the headliner for all of them, and then I feel like there were some others. I can't remember off the top of my head. That's the biggest name I remember from that team, though. Or teams. Yeah, but let's see here. Next, so set our projections. Who do you think wins the national championship?
I think Oklahoma. I mean, I just don't see anyone knocking them out. You got to beat them twice. I just don't really see it.
Yeah, me neither. But do you think that we move on or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can beat UCLA. Now, this first set of the World Series is double elimination, so it's kind of like regionals all over again, where it could go to like a game 7 or whatever. So that could happen. But yeah, I think as for tomorrow, I'd say with the way that they're playing right now, I have confidence that they can win tomorrow against UCLA.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to it. I'll have that on at the office.
I'll be watching too.
Yeah. I hope I can watch at least part of it. But so just a little fun fact for y'all before we get into tennis. So here's the list of schools that have gone to the college football playoffs, the men's Final Four, and the women's College World Series in the same year. It's Alabama in 2024. And that's the entire list.
Yeah.
And that's not even mentioning the number of people that we just sent to the track and field national championships, the baseball tournament, the NCAA women's basketball tournament, 2nd round appearance, the tennis national championship that we just won. And for the first time in program history, might we add, and the wheelchair basketball national championship that we won this season. And last but not least, the women's gymnastics Elite 8. Yeah. I don't know of another school that can claim to have ever had a season like that.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other night. I'm like, holy cow! Like, how lucky are we? Like, that's the beginning of September to now. It's, I mean, people like to talk about how they're a quote unquote everything school.
Yeah,
Alabama is everything school, literally top to bottom, from football to from like the most popular sports to like the least popular sports. Like they win at every sport. It's ridiculous.
Aren't we like nationally ranked in soccer too, or something like that? Like,
they made the yeah, that's right. They did make the soccer tournament. They went to they won.
Was it UNC or something like that?
Yeah, they lost to UNC in the second or third round. And UNC, I can't remember how far they made it, but UNC was like a top 5 team. So yeah,
and it was a close game too. We lost by one score or something like that.
Yeah, was it like 1-0 or 2-1 that they lost? But it was something like that. Yeah,
it was close. It was a very competitive game. But yeah, we did that. I want to say that the men's wheelchair basketball team, they just lost I think it was the national championship. No, the semifinals, if I remember right. But they didn't get to the championship for the first time in I don't even know, 7 years or something like that, or 5 years. And the women's just won. I think it was their 8th in a row or something like that. I could be completely off on that. Don't quote me, but yeah, it's just ridiculous numbers that we're putting up. But yeah. Yeah, but so moving on to tennis. So this is your bread and butter right here. So talking about the transfers really quick. So I know that you haven't really versed yourself too much on them, so I'll just mention them really quick. Honestly, I don't know a thing about them either. But Campbell transfer Damian Nezer, I think is how you pronounce it. He's committed to Bama. He was a junior this year, and I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I have no idea what I'm about to read, but for my tennis lovers out there, here you go. And he played at line 1 singles and doubles for the Camels. He had a 13-4 singles record. I do know what that means. And had a 12.77 UTR. That part I don't even know what that is. But Yair Sarouk, I'm hoping I pronounced that one right.
Yeah.
He's transferring from Bama to Rice, so he's transferring out. And I saw some stats on him. I don't remember any of them, but he did well from what I saw. Yeah. Do you know anything about either one of those guys?
Yeah. I've actually talked to I talked to Yair for a feature story.
Really?
Yeah, he seems pretty cool.
Sweet.
You know, he wasn't one of the main guys. He would play in singles. A few times, and then once in a while he would be in a double. But now he wasn't one of the, I guess, I don't know if you call him necessarily starters in tennis, but he wasn't one of the top reliable guys on the team. It's not to bash him or anything.
Sure.
He's a great
dude. It is what it is,
Yeah. Right. But yeah.
But I think you would call them starters. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know. There's only eight people on the tennis team, something like that.
Yeah. I saw the video of them on selection day for men's and women's, and both of them got picked. It was sick. Oh, yeah. I don't have the video for that, unfortunately. But moving on to the championship tournaments. So for women's tennis, we had Laudmila Benchik, I think is how you pronounce that, and Anne-Marie Heiser. Competed in the women's NCAA doubles tournament and had a great effort in the first round by forcing a third set. But unfortunately, they came up short in the end and fell to Fiona Crowley and Carson Tanguilig. I think I pronounced that right. And they're both from North Carolina. So competed against them, unfortunately got defeated. But in the men's singles bracket. So this is the one that you actually wrote an article on. Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so he just became the first player in Alabama history to win a national championship in men's singles, which is great. And it's actually kind of crazy to think about. He came into the tournament at number 29th ranked singles player in the country. So it's not like he was some odds-on favorite or anything. He, in fact, so the first round he beat, I think it was some player from North Florida. He's ranked number 118, I think it was. But then after that, from the round of 32 on through the championship, he knocked out players, all of them ranked higher than him nationally. So he pulled off 5 consecutive upsets to win this thing. And so what makes this run more impressive is the semifinals game. So he plays this guy named Ozan Barris from Michigan State, and Michigan State's coming off the best tennis season for men's that they've ever had. And he was also in the semifinals. He was the first Michigan State player to be on the semifinals for men's tennis for the singles tournament. So he was a number 9 ranked player nationally. And so what's crazy is a comeback that Philip had is they split the first 2 sets. So it goes to a third set, and it's 6-6. So then they play to a tiebreaker, which for tiebreakers you play first to 7, not 7 as in 15, 30, 40, and then you get it's just just simple count them up 1, 2 through 7. And so they play first to 7, and you have to win by 2. So in that tiebreaker, Philip, he's down 6-3. So Barris has multiple opportunities to close it out. All he has to do is win one more volley or one more point there in the tiebreaker, and he eliminates Planishek. And so just on a flip of a coin, Phillip just ends up really exposing Barris's weak side, I guess, like his forehand or whichever side it was. It was his weak side. But anyway, he quickly just starts exposing it time and time again. So what ends up happening is Phillip goes down from 6-3, scores 5 in a row, so get to 8 and win by 2 and move on to the championship, which was just incredible because it's like this Barris guy, he had 3 opportunities to close it out and go to the national championship. And Phillip capitalized on all the opportunities, went 5 in a row and eliminated him. And yeah, that's just what makes this run more impressive. He was like on the brink of elimination, and
he got smart about it.
Yeah, so then we get to the national championship. He's playing Michael Zhang from Colombia. Yeah. So what was actually interesting is these two actually met back in February because Alabama, they were in New York for a weekend playing like a little tournament up there, and they ran into Colombia in this tournament. And Colombia, see with college tennis, it's team and individual. So as a team, Colombia ended up beating Alabama 4-0. But in singles, Michael Zhang and Filip Planishek, they ended up playing against each other in the singles portion of the match. Now it went unfinished because normally what ends up happening, especially more earlier in the season, is like once a team gets to 4, because there's only 7 points up for grabs in college tennis. So once you get to 4, you won, right? So there's no point in wasting time to play the rest. So once Colombia got to 4, they ended the match. So in that first matchup between Filip and Michael Zhang is that they just went unfinished in the third set. But so they split the first 2 sets, and then I think it was like 2-1 when they ended up being unfinished there in the third set. So it was really close. So then, that brings us to the national championship with the rematch. And so Michael Zhang, he ended up winning the first set in a tiebreaker, is 7-6. And then Filip, so he's down 1 set again. And so what does he do? He just completely turned it around. I mean, it was a close match there in the first set, and then Planishek ends up outscoring Zhang 6-3 in the second set, and then they're tied at 1 in the third set, and Filip outscored them 5-1 the rest of the way to take a 6-2 victory in the third set, and then win the championship. So he just came roaring back after that tough loss in the first set, and comes back, wins 2 sets in a row, and then he's a national champion. So yeah, it's really cool to think about because Alabama they're not like a top program. They made the NCAA tournament. They got knocked out by Duke in the second round, ran into a tough Duke team. But we don't think of Alabama Test as some big program or anything, right? And especially with the tennis, they're not one of the top programs. So we don't really think about that. And then all of a sudden, one of their players goes on a crazy run here, and wins the national championship. It's crazy to think about. And I guess that's technically another national championship added to sports in the school. So,
yeah, technically, yeah.
Pretty sweet.
I'd love to see it. Well, I saw that he was also given All-American honors as well. So.
Yep. And he also did win first team All-SEC too. So.
Oh, let's go. I did not see that part. That's awesome. All righty. Yeah, anything else?
Well, I was going to say he also did announce in his postgame after he beat Ozan Barris in the semifinals. He announced in his postgame press conference that he will be returning. So
really? Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so he will be returning for his senior year. So Alabama men's tennis, like they're going to be good because this season they didn't have any seniors at all. So no one's leaving. Now I guess you mentioned Yair, he's transferring, but other than that, no one's leaving. Like it's going to be the same roster. And thinking about what they did this year, they're going to be even better next year. We'll see if they end up getting to host a regional in the NCAA tournament next year. It certainly is a possibility with all the experience that they have coming back. So
that'd be pretty cool.
As Phillip said in his post-game press conference that day, he said, "Alabama, we're going to be dangerous. We're going to be dangerous next year."
Yeah, for sure, dude. Imagine we get to host a playoff game. We get to host, do something with basketball, and then maybe even women's basketball. Who knows? I mean, because they got the NCAA tournament. So hey, But then we do something like 3 different sports or 4 different sports.
Like hosting a playoff game, hosting a softball regional, hosting a men's tennis regional, maybe hosting a baseball regional if, we'll see.
Yeah.
But could you imagine? Oh, my God.
And then tennis also,
Right. So it's like, man. It's an everything school. It is.
100%. I wonder how good we're doing in disc golf. I don't even know if we have a team for that. But I mean, I remember telling Levi, one of the guys we both know, by the way. I remember telling Levi that I would be putting in some stuff for fencing in future episodes. So I mean, hey, we might have a disc golf team. I don't know.
Why not? Why not?
Have to do some research.
You know what? We'll be good. We'll be good at it too if we get a disc.
Oh yeah. I didn't know that we had a water polo team until about 2 days ago. I saw that on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was on the Bama Club Sports page. I think it was on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I just did some research into it. I was like, holy smokes, we got a water polo team. That's kind of cool. And yeah. And so we got club volleyball, we got club water polo, we got fencing, we got
club hockey too.
We do, yeah. Our women's hockey team. So I'll be talking about them a little bit in the future, guys. But yeah, we got a women's hockey team. We have the club. What in the world did they call it? It's what division? I'm completely forgetting the division.
Wasn't there news recently about Alabama men's hockey? Let me look it up.
I think that was the NCAA team though. I don't think that was the club team. I'm not sure, actually. I'm going to go do some more research into that. That's for the next episode, actually. But, yeah, it was either the club team or the NCAA team. I believe it was the NCAA team, though. They're now the ACC. So that's kind of
cool. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. But, yeah, let's see here. We are now over an hour. So I got to talk about track and field and then a little swimming tidbit and then wrap this thing up. But thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. It was fun talking.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have you back on soon, hopefully.
All right. Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Absolutely, man. All right. Have a good night.
Thanks. You too.
All right. I'll see you.
See you.
And so for outdoor track and field, we have got the all SEC honors. So first team all SEC, we got 3-time SEC champion Victor Kiprop after he took gold in the 10K meter, 10,000 meter. Tarsus Oregot, gold in the 200 meter. Chris Robinson, gold in the 400 meter hurdles, silver in the 4x400 meter relay. Doris Lemon-Gold, gold in the 3,000 meter steeplechase, silver in the 5,000 meter. And Hilda Alemomoy, gold in the 10,000 meter. And then second team all SEC was Samuel Agazi, Corday Long, Carson Burian, and Caleb McRae. Y'all can tell I love pronouncing names. And then we have some Olympic qualifiers. And so that was Tarsus Argot qualifies for the Paris Olympics. He'll represent Uganda in the 200. Samuel Agazi qualifies for the Paris Olympics also, and he'll represent Nigeria in the mixed 4x400 relay as well as the 400 meter. So that out of the way, let's talk about the really, really cool stuff, which is national championships appearances for our track and field team. We just competed in the NCAA East preliminaries, the first rounds in Lexington, Kentucky. So we're going to send these guys off to Eugene, Oregon to compete up there. We had 20 qualifiers overall, which was one of the top, I think, 10 in the nation or something like that. It was pretty cool, but there's a few of them. So I'll just start off with Victor Kiprop and Dennis Caputo earned Alabama's first tickets to the national championships after they both finished top 10. And the 10,000 meter, Kiprop set a new facility record for a first place finish. And then Hilda Alemomoy earned a spot in the national championships after earning second place in the 10,000 meter. Victoria Faber, she did pole vault, personal best, and number 3 UA all-time mark of 4.3 meters. That's awesome. Jacobin Retta, Tarsus Argot, Caleb McRae, and Matthew Weaver on the 4x100 meter relay team. Season best 39.03 seconds. Samuel Agazi and Caleb McRae, 400 meter. Agazi took first place with a personal best 44.53 seconds, and McRae took third place. Usama El Bouchabi, That might be right. 800 meter. Clayton Elder, 400 meter hurdles, personal best 50.48 seconds. Corday Long, 400 meter hurdles. Chris Robinson, 400 meter hurdles, reigning national champion actually, and he just set a new facility record in Lexington with 48.77 seconds. That is hyped. And Samuel Agazi, Chris Robinson, Matthew Weaver, and Caleb McRae on the 4x400 meter relay team also set a facility record with 3 minutes and 63 hundredths of a second. And then Tarsus Oregot is going in the 200 meter. Natasha Ballard, Arike Elijah, and Milan Fields and Kaylin Harris on the 4x100 meter relay team. They all set a season best 43.87 seconds. And then the final two, which are possibly the coolest ones in this whole group. Doris Lemongall, 3,000 meter steeplechase, which is just, it's running on the track and you run over some obstacles if any of y'all don't know. But 9 minutes, 28.91 seconds to break the NCAA East preliminary record, her third sub 9:30 time of the season. That is awesome. And then Hilda Elemomoy, 5,000 meter, 15 minutes, 19.57 seconds to break the NCAA East preliminary record also. That is super cool. So we're sending all them to the national championships in Eugene, Oregon. That's coming up, and I don't remember exactly when. I'll go into that in the next episode probably, but yeah, really, really cool stuff. And for swimming, so Liberty Williams, just a little tidbit for y'all. Liberty Williams clocked a 16-minute, 42.82 second freestyle in the 1,500 meter to qualify for the Olympic trials. So we are sending 3 people to the Olympics potentially. And in the professionals, might as well mention this a little bit. We had some really cool stuff happen recently. Midfielder Felicia Knox was signed to the Fort Lauderdale United Football Club recently. Brandon Miller is now the 3rd former Alabama player to be named to the NBA All-Rookie First Team. He finished 3rd in the balloting for the All-Rookie teams. Herb Jones was named to the NBA First Team All-Defense. And finally, Davis Riley beat Scotty Scheffler to win the Charles Schwab Challenge for his 2nd PGA Tour win in his 90th start. And that is actually the 37th win on the tour by an Alabama golfer, sorry. And he is the 6th Alabama golfer to win multiple PGA Tour events. There you go. So to cap it all off, thought I might as well tell you all a fun little story that's been happening with Birmingham Southern. I just thought that this was too cool not to mention. They're going to the D3 College World Series, and Birmingham Southern is actually shutting down permanently on May 31st, so they will officially be playing for a school that no longer exists. And that's kind of insane. this is kind of straight out of a movie, but so that's pretty much it. Episode 3 will be coming out probably next week. I don't have any time to do it this weekend, so it'll probably be next week. I'll be talking about some football stuff, like I said, talking about the House versus NCAA lawsuit. I'll be talking about some hockey stuff with our men's hockey team joining the ACC, basketball, soccer, gymnastics, tennis, like all sorts of stuff. Rowing actually is going to be a big thing. They just did some cool stuff in the Big 12 championships, and tons more stuff. Going to talk about some commitments and go in depth on them. But anyway, thank y'all for listening. Y'all have a great night. Roll Tide. God bless.